Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunny Made, and today we are going to make a baby quilt. Hello friends, welcome back. I am glad you're here. We are going to tackle a baby quilt. This is our first free pattern of 2025 and our first baby quilt on my channel. So I am super excited to make this with you. Back in the fall, I gave you guys a video all about how to make this one quilt. I did it from yardage. It was ombre fabric, and it absolutely blew up. You guys loved it, and I'm so glad that you did. I really appreciate you guys sharing my videos and you watching them all the way through. So because of that, I had originally planned to make it from a charm pack. And then I thought, you know what? I have this other yardage that I don't know what I'm going to do, and I used that for my quilt. So now we are going to make it, because you guys liked it so much, we are going to make it with that charm pack. So I am using Lily and Loom. This is Craftsy stuff. This is something that Craftsy isn't really in business. They're not selling their fabric anymore, so you can get this. But what you need is you need a charm pack. Okay, you need 2 matching fabrics that will go with your charm pack. This is 2/3 of a yard each. Okay, you would need 1 1/3 yard of background fabric, and I'm just going to use either a white or a snow, depending on what looks best with my fabric. And then I like to put a little border around the edges. So 1 yard for border fabric. And this is matching my charm pack. I like to use charm packs because it gives you a whole bunch of fun colors and is fairly inexpensive. So we're going to take these things with our background fabric and we're going to get started. Okay, first I'm going to start by showing you the block we are making. We're putting that charm square in the middle, and we're going to put a 1 color on one corner, 1 color on the opposite corner, and then our background fabric. So first what we want to do is we want to take all of our fabrics and have it ironed. And then we're going to bring them to our cutting mat. Okay, I actually have already done a set of these just to make sure that I am telling you correctly. So we are going to put our background fabric and then one of our colors on top of each other, lining up our edges. Okay, looks like my background fabric is a little bit bigger than my pattern fabric. So what we are actually going to do is we're going to use strip piecing. We are going to make a strip of this and then a strip of the white. We're going to sew them together, length of fabric, and then we're going to, after we have sewn them and ironed it open, we're going to cut them into 2.5-inch strips. So I'm going to take my ruler and I need 4 strips that are 3 strips that are 2 3/4. Okay, so 1, and I already did 1 set, so I'm only going to do 2 strips, but you need to make 3 strips. Okay, and so I have 2 sets of them here, and then I'm going to make 3 strips that are 4 3/4. And so for every blender color you have, you need a strip of background fabric. And that just flew off the table. Okay, so I have a small strip and a big strip of each of these, and then I'm going to pull them up off the floor. And I'm going to do the same thing with my other colors. And I'm going to line up those edges again. And I'm going to cut 3 strips that are 2 3/4 inches and 2 strips that are 4 3/4 inches. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blender fabric and lay it out with the fabric, okay? And then I'm going to take my background fabric and lay it on top. And then I'm going to sew along the long side of this, all the way down from one end to the other, one salvage edge to the other. I am then going to iron it towards my blender fabric. So it's going to iron back towards this. And I'm going to do that with each set of my 4 3/4 inch fabrics on both my yellow and my pink. And then I'm going to do it also with my 2 3/4. We are just going to lay them out flat like this and sew all of those strips together and iron them towards my blender pieces. So I'm going to iron towards the yellow, or I'm going to iron towards the pink. Okay, now that I have all of my pieces all sewn up one side, we are going to iron them all open. So I'm just going to place the background fabric down and the pattern fabric or the darker fabric on top. I always like to iron it towards the darker fabric. I'm going to first set that seam. That's why I go over it first before I finger press it open. I'm going to finger press this open to make sure we get a nice flat seam. It doesn't get any weird kinks in it. And then I'm just going to hit it with an iron. So I want to now iron open all of my strip pieces. Then we're going to head back to the cutting board and and cut this all up so that we can put our block together. Okay, so I have my strips here. What I'm doing is just lining up edges with lines on my cutting mat. And this will just help them keep them straight as we cut all the way through them. So I have a big yellow and a small yellow and a big pink and a small pink. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off that salvaged edge. Oh, and it looks like I did not line those up very well. I want to make sure that I cut off all of the salvaged edge. And I'm going to use the lines. Since I lined them up with lines on my cutting mat horizontally, I'm going to line up my ruler with the lines on my cutting mat vertically. And this will make sure that I get a nice 90-degree angle on my strips. So I'm going to just cut these all at 2.5 inches. You can either line it up with your ruler or line it up with the lines on your cutting mat. And I'm just going to go down the whole strip group and cut them into 2.5 inch pieces. Okay, so if we have this strip group here, what we're going to have is we are going to have 2 long pieces and 2 short pieces. And this is what we're going to need for each charm square piece. So at the end, I'm going to layer them all out in, I guess, make sure that I've cut all the way through my pieces. Okay, I'm going to lay them out with their counterparts. Okay, so then I'm going to take these over to my sewing machine with my charm pack. Okay, now that we have all of our strips all cut up, I'm going to take a charm square and I'm going to place it with my first short one. We're going to have a short yellow and a short pink on each block. And I'm going to put it so the white is on top and the yellow is on bottom. And I want to make sure that I put them all on my charm square the same way. And what I'm actually going to do to make this a little simpler on me is I'm just going to adhere or sew the small yellow and the small white to all of my charm squares. I'm then going to cut them apart. I'm going to flip them around and add the pink side to each of them. So we're just going to sew a yellow one to this side and a pink one to this side, and that is our first step. Okay, so now we're going to take it. We've already sewn that yellow piece on, and we're going to do the same thing. White on top, pink on bottom, and I'm going to send them all through my sewing machine at the same time. What this allows me to do is to what is called chain piecing, and it allows me to do a step and do it quickly without having to stop and iron and sew all the pieces together on the block. This just makes it quick and easy and allows me to get through my stack of blocks really fast. So what I'm going to do now is take my my piece here. I'm going to take it over to the ironing board and I'm going to press them open, and then I'm going to bring them back and add my next pieces to my blocks. We're going to frame them top and bottom. Now that I have all of my smaller pieces on my center charm square block, it is time to put the top and the bottom on my block. So what I'm going to do, let me lay it out so you can see what this looks like. Okay, we're going to create a corner of pink, and then we're going to create a corner of yellow here to frame the block, and then the opposite corners are the background fabric. So I'm just going to take my stack of yellows, okay, and I'm going to send them all down through my sewing machine on the one side, cut them apart, and then I'm going to attach the pink one to the other side and send it through my sewing machine, and then I'm going to iron them open. Okay, now that we have all our blocks done, it is time for us to put our quilt together. So there's a lot of fun ways that we can do this. We can do it so our yellow is all in the same direction in that top left corner. We can do it so that we have pink across from each other and white there. We can make it yellow and pink. We can do a pink here all in the middle. I kind of like the way that looks. Let's see how this goes together. I'm not going to get too fancy on this. I'm going to lay it out on my floor actually. I have a big space between my kitchen table and my island, and that allows me to lay it out. And you know, I actually kind of like this color that's all coming together. Let's see what it looks like if I put all yellow together. And what I'm just going to do is I will watch patterns. I probably will switch those out. I will watch colors. I mean, we already have the same color right there, so I don't want to do too much of that color. And oh, I kind of like the way this is coming together. So I'm going to lay this out over on my floor, and then with all of my quilt blocks, you should have 42 quilt blocks. So I'm going to do 6 across, 7 down. These are all 9 inches, which means you're going to end up with the 54-inch by 7 times 9, 63-inch quilt. I'm going to get that put together. I'm going to sew my rows. So as I sew my rows together, I will iron the first row all one direction. The second row, I will iron my seams the opposite direction. Again, go the other way, so I'm switching it every other one. And then I'm going to sew my rows together. And I'm going to put it together, figure out how I want it to go, bring it back, show you, and then I'm going to show you how you can make it bigger in case you want this a little bit bigger. Okay, so here is my quilt. This is how I put it together. I love how it turned out. It's super fun. Okay, you guys requested in my 2025 video that you don't always want a baby quilt. So let's talk about baby quilts, and let's talk about how to make these bigger. First of all, this is a decent size. We have 42 blocks in this. They're all 9 inches. So we're talking 6 blocks wide, 7 blocks long. It is 54 by 63. This would cover me, okay? From head to toe, this would cover me. If you want it smaller, just make less blocks. I don't really like leftover fabric. I don't want to have a stray charm piece, 5-inch square, sitting around my house. So I'm going to make it as big as I possibly can. So this could be a good size for a child to grow with. Or you can make it smaller so it is a baby quilt, more of a baby size. Or you can make it bigger. And let me tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to take my quilt, and when I bought my charm pack, I bought 2 yards of fabric, 2 1-yard cuts of fabric that match it. So I have a purple and I have the fun print. I'm going to first start with a 2-inch border all the way around my quilt. Okay, I'm just going to do 2-yard strips. I'm going to need 6 of them with the fabric. I'm going to go put them on the sides first, then the top and the bottom, and it's just going to give me a thin strip of this purple, and it's going to be fun. Then I'm going to take my print here, and I'm going to do a 4-inch border. So I'm going to have a small border and then a 4-inch border. I'm actually going to make it 4.5 inches. So when it's done, it will be 4 inches. 4.5 inches of this. I will probably need 6 strips as well. And let me make sure on my head, 4.5 inches, 6 strips, 24, 27. Yes, I will have enough fabric here to do a 4-inch border. And then I'm going to put it on the long arm, get it all quilted up. Okay. I don't quite have a backing yet, so I'm going to have to figure that out. And then with my leftover purple, I'm going to do a binding. So you can make your quilt this size, which will nicely cover me. And it's fun and it's a good size. If you want it bigger, use more charm packs, another charm pack, and make it bigger. If you want it smaller, just make less blocks. Let's see, how big would I make it if I was making a baby quilt? I would probably do 4 across and 5 down. So that would be 20 blocks. That would be half your charm pack. You can make 2 quilts from it. Okay. And if you had a whole charm pack, you could just make 2 quilts from it and do a 4x5, 20 blocks. It would be a great size for a baby quilt. You can still add your borders to it if you want. Or if you want to use your whole charm pack and then add borders, you're going to have a bigger quilt. So I'm going to get my borders put on. I'm going to take it to the long arm, and then let's see how it turns out. Okay, before I show you our finished product, I just wanted to backtrack real quick. I think I was telling you the wrong size for the block. So our final block is going to be 9 inches unfinished. So if you want to trim them down, trim them to 9 inches before you put them all in your quilt, which means you'll end up with an 8.5 inch square finished block in your quilt. Okay, so you ready? Okay, here it's all done. I put the purple here with the small border. I put this fun print as a final border. I still had purple left, so I made it into my binding. I put a minky on the back. This is a Shannon minky, yellow with loops. That's what's done. So here it is all done. And it turned out roughly 60 inches by 68 inches, or probably 68.5 technically because of that ½ inch on the block. So I would love to see how yours is turning out. You can find me on Instagram at Ashley_SunnyMade. I'd like to see what you're working on. Tag me in your posts. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing.